All right, welcome in. Mount Polumbus Speaks, doing a little post-game live reaction here. A little bit delayed after the game. I planned on doing this a little bit quicker, but here I am nonetheless. Huge win for the Broncos. Take on the Falcons in what is going to be a pivotal game for the Broncos in terms of their playoff hopes. That game has now set the Broncos up for easy street in terms of making the playoffs. They got to handle their business, of course. Nothing's going to be easy inside the NFL, but they have taken care of their business, and now you've got a 3 or 4 game stretch coming up here between the Raiders, the Browns, the Colts that are all extremely winnable football games, okay? So the Broncos should, in theory, go on a 4-game run. Let's talk about this game against the Falcons. Look, a lot of things went right, and shout out to Bo Nix, because if there were any doubters left, and a lot of people would put me in that camp, it's over now. Bo Nix is the guy, man. He has flat out delivered. Bo Nix is the franchise quarterback of the Denver Broncos. That was a phenomenal performance from that young man. 28 of 33, 307 yards, 4 touchdowns. 1 touchdown short of the all-time rookie record for the Broncos. He ties the record now with 4 touchdowns in 1 game. Had he gotten that 5th, he would have held the title. What a performance from that young man. I mean, in the first half, he was nearly perfect. Second half, all right, not quite as good, but still phenomenal. I mean, when you got to halftime, he was on track for a 400-yard performance. What was impressive about this game, well, there's a lot of things that were impressive about this game, but one of the impressive things was that you've got a guy in Bo Nix that is delivering the rock all across the team. 10 players for the Broncos caught a pass. That's spreading the wealth, all right? And you had 4 players with 50 yards or more. Marvin Mims had 49. I'm going to throw him in that category. Okay. Cortland Sutton ends up with 7 catches for 78 yards, continues a streak of just really good football. Cortland Sutton has been playing really well for a handful of games now, and he continues that. But what's really impressive for Bo Nix is he got other guys involved, all right? Not just Cortland Sutton. Devon Vele's got a great game, 4 catches for 66 yards. Lil Jordan Humphreys got 4 for 52. Marvin Mims ends up with 2 for 59. And what made this game different for Bo Nix was the yards after catch. Look, he's had a lot of games where he's had completions, right? But not a lot of games where his receivers were getting yards after catch. And in this game, the bubble screens were there. They were all over the place. I mean, the Broncos must have run 4 or 5 different bubble screens in this game, and whatever coverage the Falcons were running, they were leaving that sucker open. So they were leaving things for the Broncos all day long. Falcons hit a couple bubble screens on them as well. But to me, the difference in this game for Bo Nix was not only the completion percentage, but what these guys were able to do. Look, Audric Estime was what a lot of people thought was going to be the featured back in this game. He got like 25 carries in the previous game, and Javonte Williams got a carry. And then come to this game against the Falcons, out of nowhere, Javonte Williams is the featured back again. I don't know if you guys were anything like me, but I certainly was thinking that this was going to be Audric Estime's game. By the game was all said and done, Audric Estime ended up with 6 carries, but all of those carries came in the second half. Javonte was having a great game. He really was. Only ends up with 59 yards, but the key number is for any running back is not their total yardage, it's their average per carry. And in this game, Javonte Williams averaged 6.6 yards per carry. The dude was driving his legs. I mean, that touchdown run, that has got to be a Kyle Brandt angry run. That dude was not going to be denied. He was going to end up in the end zone. Running his feet, breaking tackles, sheds one tackler, sheds another, ends up with a whole horde of Falcons defenders on him. And at some point, the Denver Broncos offensive line comes and just flat out picks up Javonte. Javonte's feet are off the ground by the time he ends up in the end zone. That is good team effort from the Denver Broncos. So this game is enormous for a lot of reasons. Number one, you can tell that the game against Kansas City was indeed a moral victory for that football team. And I'm all right with a moral victory for up-and-coming teams. If you're on top, if you're a contender, there's no such thing as moral victory. But for up-and-coming teams like the Denver Broncos, you go out to Kansas City, you go toe-to-toe, you've got what should have been an impressive game-winning drive that gets denied by a blocked field goal. By the way, Alex Forsythe was still on field goal. However, they changed him to a different position. Looked like Matt Pert was filling in at the left tight end spot on field goal. But you go to Kansas City, and you don't walk away with the victory, but what you walked away with was a confident group. You walked away with a quarterback that had his defining moment that said, yep, I'm in the big leagues. I'm ready to go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. And you know what? Kirk Cousins is in the big leagues. And our guy flat out outperformed Kirk Cousins in this game. They were able to take that Kansas City game and amplify it. They take the confidence that they got, and they go up against the middling Atlanta Falcons team. Not a bad team, not a great team, just a middle-of-the-road Atlanta Falcons team. The Broncos and the Falcons were reverse doppelgangers in this game. It's crazy. They were statistically identical, but in reverse ways. The Broncos had the number 5 defense. The Atlanta Falcons had the number 5 offense. Well, I would say the number 5 defense looked a whole lot better than the number 5 offense. The Atlanta Falcons had the number 24 defense. The Denver Broncos had the number 24 offense. Well, I would say the number 24 offense looked a whole lot better than the number 24 defense. So statistically, on paper, there was no advantage to be found in this game, and Vegas would agree with that. Going into the game, the Broncos were minus 2.5. You get 3 points just for playing at home. That's more or less the rule. You get 3 points, and Vegas took that down one. So they were saying this was a literal coin flip game. Going into the week, I was pretty nervous about this game, but as the week progressed and I just started processing more information, I was watching that Atlanta Falcons defense, I realized that is not a good defense. I know they're ranked 24, and that's not good, but they are a whole lot worse than what they are ranked. So this Broncos offense was able to take advantage of that. And for the first time this year, outside of the Carolina game, which was like the worst team in the NFL, for the first time this year, Bo Nix had a start-to-finish football game. We've had a lot of good halves of football. We've had a great drive at the end of the game against Kansas City. We've had plenty of spurts, but we have not had a start-to-finish game against a good football team like the Atlanta Falcons until today. And we got it. If you thought that last week against Kansas City was the defining moment for Bo Nix, you're wrong. This is now the defining moment for Bo Nix. That was an impressive drive against Kansas City. This was an incredible game from Bo Nix. Flat out an incredible game. And shout out to the wide receivers for getting yards after the catch. Look, the Broncos are bound and determined to get Marvin Mims involved in things. They, for 2 weeks in a row, started putting Marvin Mims in the backfield. And this isn't just like a gadget thing. This isn't just like a one-off to 1 or 2 plays a game thing. Well, maybe 3 or 4 plays a game thing. But they are going back to it. This is a part of the plan for the Broncos moving forward. They are putting Marvin Mims in the backfield, and they're giving him the football, running it. Now, why are they doing that? I don't think they're doing it because they think that Marvin Mims is a hell of a running back. They're putting Marvin Mims in the backfield to use him as a weapon in the passing game, so that they can get mismatches, so that they can get linebackers that have to cover one-on-one on Marvin Mims coming out of the backfield. But in order for him to be successful in the passing game when he's playing that running back position, well, you got to be able to run the ball with him also. You can't be totally one-dimensional, or else your tendencies are going to give it away. So they have to hand the ball off to Marvin Mims or give him a toss sweep couple times a game, not 5 or 6 times a game, 2 or 3 times a game. And at first, I'm not going to lie to you, I rolled my eyes at it. I'm like, what are we doing here? This is stupid. Marvin Mims isn't Deebo Samuels. He's not going to be able to run the ball effectively out of the backfield, and he really has not had a big run out of the backfield. But I can see the mismatches in the passing game. And if you get super creative with it, there's ways to put him in motion, get him matched up one-on-one of those linebackers. There are a lot of creative things that you can do with it. So us as fans might be frustrated with Marvin Mims at times, but Sean Payton has not given up on that young man. Matter of fact, he's trying to figure out ways to feature Marvin Mims. Troy Franklin didn't have a lot of catches. Let's see, 2 catches. Troy Franklin only had 2 catches, but he did have 1 tough catch and 1 tough run. It was on one of those bubble screens. He shed 1 blocker. It was like a gain of like 8 yards, nothing big, no big deal, but he did shed a blocker and it was a good looking run. Defensively, the Broncos played great. I mean, they always do. Nick Bonito is a terror. 2 sacks in this game. Also picked up a sack from an unlikely player. And, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. What's wrong with me? Roach. Yeah, so Malcolm Roach. Unlikely candidate to pick up a sack, played on the interior of the defensive line. Malcolm Roach picks up 1. We got another sack from Jonah Ellis, which was good to see. So you end up with 4 sacks in the game, and the defensive line's continuing to put up great pressure. There were actually a few out-of-character passes from Kirk Cousins where he had all day to sit in that pocket. Usually this Denver Broncos defense is not going to give you time to throw the ball. There were a few times, but look, you end up with 4 sacks in the game. That's a great game defensively. And Nick Bonito, dude, the similarities between him and Von Miller are actually flat out crazy. It's nuts, man. He has got so many similarities to him, just from the body type to the stance to the incredible get off, the ghost moves that he uses. You can tell that that guy has clearly studied Von Miller film because he is emphasizing Von Miller's moves, and it's fun to see. Look, he's got a very twitchy body type. As a young player, Nick Bonito left a lot to be desired in the run game. And I would say that that's still not his specialty, but he is far from a liability in the run game. He's fine. He's okay. He's not great. He's not making plays in the running game, but he's fine. He's not a liability. And then you pair that up with an incredible tandem in Jonathan Cooper. You've got interior pass rushing. Zach Allen has got the most, I think he was tied for the most pressures in the NFL going into this game. And Zach Allen plays on the interior of the defensive line in a 4-eye spot. You don't get after the passer in a 4-eye spot traditionally. That's not what you do out of that position. So you've got Zach Allen, you got Jonathan Cooper, you got Nick Bonito, Jonah Ellis is coming along. This is why you were able to trade Baron Browning. You had so many pass rushers, they're going off of trees, and you preemptively made a decision that you are not going to carry, you're not going to give Baron Browning a contract come free agency, so you traded him while you could get some value out of it. I love where this team is set up. It's amazing, like especially defensively, and we can play this game offensively too. But defensively, name a position, name a player that you are not satisfied with the work that they're putting in right now. Find one. You unhappy with defensive line play? No, we're pretty good there. Edge rushers? Yeah, we're good. Corner play? Riley Moss? Riley Moss is kind of like the low-key MVP of this team just based off of what we did not expect to happen and what he has been able to do. He's been phenomenal. Safety's been rock solid. This defense is set, and the beautiful part about it is you got a lot of young football players out there. And then offensively, look, you need to go get Bo Nix more playmakers. But I like the fact that Sean is going to just keep giving the football to Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims until they figure it out. Because you don't have anyone else this year anyways. So let's just keep giving them the ball until they figure it out. Troy Franklin has not figured it out yet, but it appears like Marvin Mims is turning the page a little bit. I wouldn't call him a dynamic player yet, but turning the page. He's becoming a productive wide receiver for the Denver Broncos. And Courtland Sutton, look, he gets hated on all the time, but Courtland does nothing but show up. Courtland does nothing but do his job. I'm going to pull up Courtland's stats, actually, because I'm curious. He's got to have had 3 or 4 games straight here, close to 100 yards, 70 to 80 yards plus. Courtland Sutton stats. All right. Okay, so he goes 78 against the Falcons, 70 against the Chiefs, 122 against the Ravens, 100 against the Panthers. That's a pretty solid 4-game stretch there from our captain. That's a great stretch from our captain. Well, let's talk about this offensive line. Because you finally got no line, Broncos fans. You're so accustomed to not having good offensive line play that you probably don't even respect what's going on offensively right now. Your left tackle, well, actually, let's finish with Garrett Bowles, okay? Mike McGlinchey is a good football player, man. He's fantastic in the run game, and although he'll get beat here and there in pass protection, he's rock solid. Okay, Quinn Miners, not hyperbole, the best run blocking guard in the NFL. That's what Quinn Miners is. It's fun. So I do the all 22 on Tuesdays, and I'll do this game on Tuesday as well. So come back to my YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed, head on over. The link's in my bio. If you're watching on Twitter right now, subscribe to my YouTube channel because I put out a lot of content you don't want to miss. And when you watch the all 22 with Quinn Miners, when you can draw a line, and the rest of the offensive line is right here, and Quinn's right here, in every single run. He's 2 or 3 yards in front of the rest of the offensive line because that's how powerful that dude is. He consistently moves guys north and south 3 to 4 yards on every single play. So you got a rock solid right tackle. You've got a phenomenal right guard. Your center play, you're figuring it out. I thought Alex Forsythe did a good job when he was filling in for Luke Wattenberg, but they went straight back to Luke. I thought that they might just go ahead and roll with Alex Forsythe, but they went back to Luke, and that's cool, man. Luke has been a solid football player. Your center's kind of the one spot that we need to grow, but you bump over to left guard. Ben Powers is a got-man offensive lineman, and that's what this league is. This league is a got-man league, whereas Quinn Miners will have his guy 3 or 4 yards down the field. You just look at Ben Powers and you're like, yep, got man. Got the job done. He might not have his dude 3 or 4 yards down the field, but he hardly ever gets beat. He doesn't run his feet like Quinn Miners does, and he's not as powerful as Quinn Miners, but he gets the job done, both in the running game and the passing game. I would say he's a tick better in pass protection than he is in the running game, but really good football player. And then we got to talk about Garrett Bowles because that's going to be a tough decision for the Broncos. Garrett Bowles has been it's been a roller coaster ride. But when it's all said and done, you've got adequate left tackle play. That's what you got out of Garrett Bowles. It's adequate left tackle play. But the Broncos have got a serious decision to make in the offseason because Garrett Bowles' contract is up. And I would be tempted to give him a new contract because I'm so satisfied with the way this offensive line is playing. And they played great in this game against Atlanta. But I would call it a coin flip on what they're going to do on Garrett. You could talk me into going younger, cheaper, and drafting a left tackle. But I'm telling you, when you get adequate left tackle play, it's like getting adequate quarterback play. It's scary to move on from it. So I would give it like a 60-40. 60% chance the Broncos give him a new contract, 40% chance they decide to just draft and go younger. But we go back to this game, and I would give Bo Nix the game ball. He's the MVP. But then I would say the player that I was the most impressed with outside of Bo Nix was actually Javonte Williams. And it was fascinating to me because I fully expected Audric Estime to get the bulk of the carries based off what happened last week. And the Broncos coaches even said that they were going to give the hot hand the ball at the running back position. And that implied that Audric Estime was the hot hand. But they go back to Javonte Williams. And it seems like every time Javonte gets his back pressed against the wall, he performs. He performs really, really well, man. Javonte Williams get a game ball for me. And then Audric Estime, when he stepped in, man, he didn't do anything special. He did have one hurdle that was cool. So he got a highlight play out of it. Risked the family jewels to gain an extra yard or two. So that was cool out of him. He's not the most athletic running back. He's a bruising running back, but he looked pretty damn athletic right there. Game balls to Javonte, game balls to Bo Nix, game balls to Cortland Sutton. And then how about Devon Bailey? Dude, Devon Bailey, come on. You've got a Tim Patrick clone. Broncos country is fortunate to have Devon Bailey. Devon Bailey's 26-year-old rookie. He's older. He's mature. Just think about the difference of where you were at 26 versus where you were at 21. You're just calmer. Life slows down a little bit, right? And you could see that in Devon Vele. Down the road, is it ideal to have a 26-year-old rookie? No, but right now it's pretty awesome. And he doesn't have a lot of mileage on his body. So I said this after the draft when we were talking about what what drafted Broncos would be here the longest. And my hot take at the time was Devon Vele. And my reasoning at the time was because he's young, he's cheap, but he's going to be a great special teams player. And so at the very least, he would be contributing as a special teams player for a long time. Well, he's far more than a special teams player. He's the second best wide receiver on this team. The Broncos continue to go back to little Jordan Humphrey. So we might be frustrated with little Jordan Humphrey, but Sean Payton apparently isn't. I thought he was after, what game was that both Cortland and little Jordan Humphrey fumbled? I'm drawing a blank. After that game, he's like, look, our wide receivers got to they got to stop putting the ball on the ground or else I'll find myself new wide receivers. Well, he keeps going back to little Jordan Humphrey. Little Jordan Humphrey continues to have drop after drop after drop. And then little Jordan Humphrey has a nice little game today. 4 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown. Although he did have a drop early on, and I don't know if you're anything like me, but it was starting to feel like holding 72, like drop, a little Jordan Humphrey. Those two things are going hand in hand right now. But good for him, he bounced back. And they're going to continue to play him because they don't really have any other wide receivers on the team. Huge win for the Broncos, okay? 38-6, and here's how it looks, okay? Let's talk about the remaining schedule. I know I play this game a lot if you watch my podcast here, but this is why this game was important. I said if the Broncos beat the Falcons, they're going to be in the playoffs. If they lose to the Falcons, they will not. They beat the Falcons, and now my prediction is the Broncos will officially be a playoff team. I don't know if they'll make any noise in the playoffs, but I bet they're one of those teams you don't want to face. But now since you took care of business against the Atlanta Falcons, you got a nice little stretch. You got the Raiders next weekend. You got the Browns after that. And then you got the Colts, okay? Anytime you play Jameis Winston, I'm a little bit nervous, but they're the Browns. That should be a win. Raiders should be a win. Colts played better today, but they did play the New York Jets. They snuck out with a victory. And actually, Anthony Richardson had a decent little game. I'm going to pull up his stats. It wasn't like a light the world on fire game, but Anthony Richardson in his return went for 272 yards, 1 touchdown, 66.7 completion percentage. That was his best game of the season. So maybe getting benched, little fire in Anthony Richardson as well. His completion percentage against the Texans was 31. He doubled it. So, all right, maybe the Colts will be a feisty team. I'd put the Colts in the same category as the Atlanta Falcons. You've got the elite teams, you've got the bottom feeders, and then you got the parity teams. And the Broncos, the Falcons, the Colts, they're all in the league of parity, where just about anything can happen on any given Sunday. But Broncos beat the Falcons. Now they should beat the Raiders, beat the Browns, beat the Colts. That's 4 straight wins. Okay? In theory. That puts you at 9 wins. Now we got to find a win in our final 3 games against the Chargers, the Bengals, and the Chiefs. Chiefs lost today. I knew they would. That is not an undefeated football team. I knew they were going to go down eventually. The Broncos should have been the team that took them down originally. If in theory the Chiefs had the number 1 seed locked up, which I actually have got my doubts about at this point, but if in theory they've got it locked up, well, the Chiefs might not play their starters in week 17. So you got to get to 10 wins if you want to be a playoff team. And I do believe the Broncos should go on a 4-game tear here. That should put them at 9 games with 3 games to play to win 1. Sounds like pretty good odds to me. Although I do remember my rookie year in the NFL, I was in that exact same situation. We had 3 games to play, had to win 1. We went 0 for 3. So let's hope this Denver Broncos team is better than my rookie team was. Look, huge win for the Broncos, huge win for Bo Nix. I am a believer. I've taken my time to get there. I'm a believer. This is a franchise quarterback. Bo Nix is a franchise quarterback for the Denver Broncos. The Broncos finally got their guy. And it feels pretty damn good. No more games. No more chasing the quarterback. Now we get to build around the guy. You got the guy. Now let's get the guy some weapons. Every quarterback needs weapons. They always say, like, Brock Purdy's a system guy. He needs guys around him. Every quarterback needs weapons. They all do. They all do. You've got your defense set up, and now you get to attack the offense super heavy in free agency and in the draft. But forget all that. Normally, we're already talking about free agency. Normally, we're already talking about the draft because the season's already lost at this point. This season is not lost. We'll talk about all that stuff in a few months. Let's enjoy this moment. The Denver Broncos are going to be a playoff team, and Bo Nix is a franchise quarterback. Hell of a day. Hell of a weekend. Buffs got to win. Go Buffs. Buffs are in control of their destiny. 2 more games to go, and then they'll be in the Big 12 championship. I was at the game. It was an early start. Buffs handled their business. Broncos handled their business. Great weekend in Colorado. Before I go, just do want to give a quick shout out to Justin Simmons. Justin Simmons, I don't know if he really did anything in that game or not, but Justin is well loved in that locker room, and you could see it after the game. Man, almost every single Bronco stood in a line to go say hi to Justin Simmons. And I feel bad for Justin because Justin had a Ring of Fame resume here in Denver, and it's just bad luck. He won't make the Ring of Fame because the Broncos had no success while he was here. But Justin Simmons got drafted into the worst era of Denver Broncos football. He was a multi-time Pro Bowler, multi-time All-Pro, was Mr. Community, Mr. Perfect on and off the football field. His resume screams Ring of Fame. But the sad reality is that when Justin Simmons' career is all said and done in 10 or 15 years, he'll more or less be forgotten. And I do not mean that as a shot at Justin, but that's just what happens when you are not on good football teams. But you could see how well loved that guy is. I wish he was still on the team, quite frankly, but hey, looks like Sean called that one all right. Got pretty good safety play, and he got it a whole lot cheaper. All right, Broncos fans, congratulations. We got a quarterback. We got a dude, and we got a playoff season. Every single game matters. Let's go on a 4-game tear here, and this city will be cranking and rock and rolling like we have not been doing in about 10 years. I do believe we're going to go on a 4-game tear, so get ready for it. This is going to be a blast. We should soak up every last second of this because we've been in a lake of misery for 9 years, 10 years. We have been at the bottom of a lake of misery, and it's time to enjoy some success. Hell of a game for the Broncos. All 22 will be out on Tuesday.